Well, after a little bit of a disappointing performance out against Navy, as far as I thought how we played, but under circumstances, I take it like most teams at the beginning of the year when you're going to have some ups and downs, and we did. But going into this Champions Classic, that's why we play the thing. It's the best teams in the last 10 years, and we're still included as one of them. I think, got the tied for the best record in the thing. And there's been other years we were in the top 20, and teams we beat were in the top 10. So I'm looking at this as our chance to take another step forward in a long season. It's a great way to start off college basketball. And last year it was definitely one of the more watched games nationally as far as the whole tournament, and I'm sure it'll be the same this year. Duke has been dominating. They've shooting 62, 3% from the field, 46, 7, 8% from the three. They're playing 10 different guys, 9 are McDonald's All-Americans, and the one that's not, I'm not sure which country he's from, but probably McDonald's in that country. It's been they've got maybe as good a recruiting class as there's been in recent years. You go along with that with guys like Cook and Suleiman, who have started there as freshmen. It's a pretty imposing group, very well coached, and are right now shooting the ball as well as any team I've seen shoot it on film. You can't overlook Cook either. Some thought he wouldn't start, but I think he's been a thorn in our side before, a very quick player who I think is arguably one of their best shooters, at least has shot well. He's shooting 50%. Now 7 of 14 from the three. It'll be interesting for Brandon Dawson. I guess he's the only player to start every one of the first 4 Champion Classic games. And, we still have Trice and Duke has Cook are the only other players who've played in all 4. So there's some advantages, hopefully, that Brandon will take advantage of. And I think for us to play better, turnovers will be one big key against Duke, and fouls. And I watched our game against them back in whatever it was, 11, the Sweet 16 game down in Indy, and we were in so much foul trouble that we had half our team on the bench. So we've been working hard on those 2 areas, and yet I must say very excited to get on the road and play this game. Questions?
Tom, you mentioned fouls. Do you know ahead of time what officials there are so you can know how you're going to play?
Yeah, we know, but I just don't look. I really don't. I swear to God to you. Very seldom. Sometimes I'll look right before I go down, but that's the way they play. They play to draw fouls. They're driving it and trying to get fouled. So it has nothing to do with the officials in that respect. It has to do with we got to keep people in front of us, and we can't make crazy fouls. In the last game, we played them down there in Indy. Nix and I think it was Payne and Dawson all got, what I would call dumb fouls. And we just got to get fouls that are working man's fouls, not ones that are reaching and foolish fouls, to be honest with you.
I'm curious about the status of Elvin, and assuming he can't go or be limited. I know you guys are thin already, and how much does that get magnified?
Well, it magnifies it because they bring a variety of guards at you. They're bringing some very good players that were highly recruited kids off the bench now. And I would say that we don't know. I won't say it's a game day decision. I'll know more today, but as of yesterday, it's if it was playing, it would be very, very limited action. So, yeah, that's a problem for us right now with 2 of our guards out, 2 of our wing guys potentially out, and but it's the way it is. It was just a freak thing. I don't know if you saw it. It didn't even step on anybody's foot. He just went to throw a lob and turned it. So very questionable. Question mark whether he play.
Real quick follow-up. Does that mean you slide Trav over the two more if you can play Tom a little bit more, or how does that work out?
I mean, we played Tom 20 minutes in the last game. I mean, it just means that we're going to have, in Travis and Tom and Zell, and we got four guys that in what are three positions. We can move BJ to the three a little bit if we have to. The funny part is they'll go small some too, where they'll play four guards actually, somewhat. So yeah, it's not the most positive thing for us, but it's we played that whole game without him, and I think that affected us a little bit too. Not that he is a great player yet, but we had no rotation at all, and Trice was cramping up in that during that game. So we got to be a little smarter in how we sub this game, but at least we'll go in knowing the circumstances instead of getting hit 2.5 minutes into the game.
Is this the first real test for Schilling and Costello, and what do you want to see out of them?
I want to see him compete without fouling, number one. Jaleel can draw fouls. He's a very good player. I mean, I think he's one of the more skilled post players they've had in a long, long time. And he's also a very good passer, so he can put the ball on the floor. It is going to be a good test for those two guys. And this is why you play games like this, because I think it helps make you better. Just the experience of going through it. And yet I think both guys can defend pretty well. It'll be the ball screens that'll be as hard to defend as maybe the post. And so they're going to have to be on their game. There's no question.
With Matt, he doesn't always look confident offensively. He didn't the other night when he gets the ball in that post. I've seen him look decent in the post before in his career. What does he need to do, and what do you want to see offensively?
Well, we got to go in there a little bit more, too. It's not all Matt. It's somewhat us. It's just trying to figure out this team right now. There's so many new and moving parts, other than the three guys that have played decent minutes. Matt's played a few more minutes, and then, there's so many guys that haven't played any. So it's everybody getting used to everybody in the field, and that's going to take some time. But, he does have to he has to get the ball more, and that's our fault, not his. And so we have worked on that a little bit, trying to go in there a little bit more, and then he has to make a decision. He's got a good up and under move. He's got a decent jump hook. You're right. He can do some things in there. He didn't get as many touches in that last game, in fairness to him.
Tom, how different is this for you going into the Champions Classic as, a bigger underdog coming off the way you guys played, the way they've looked so far? Do you use that?
Yeah, it's different, but we played Kansas a couple years ago. We went and got upset by UConn. We were a top, I don't know, when we played them 20-some, they were a top 10 team, and we went in there and played our tails off, So I've been underdog so many times in my career that that doesn't faze me. I guess I'm worried about it, whether it phases the guys. And it's hard to get a feel, We got to feel that we could do this, and this against the two exhibition teams, and they played two teams that they were superior, and they played them at home too. You never know how people react at home on the road. It's always a little different, and it's really different for young guys. They got some young guys, and we've got some young guys, and there's no question they've got some talented young guys, but it'll be their first time away from home too, and so I'm anxious to see how both groups handle that.
Tom, you mentioned at one point during the season or preseason that you thought Brandon can kind of play to the level of his competition at times. I mean, are you hopeful that big game, big lights, that you can maybe see that big game out of him?
Yeah, like I said, the difference with Brandon this year and maybe a couple years ago is he's practiced incredibly well. I've got no complaints. I don't know why he kind of second half just kind of disappeared, but at the same time, what I'm not as concerned about is practice after practice after practice. He's done his job, and he's done it pretty well. So he had a great practice yesterday, and I think he'll play real well tomorrow, and yet he's going to have to for us to be able to win the game.
Tom, if Coach K quits next week, you'll have to coach 20 more years to catch him. What does that say about somebody who's been around and been effective 40 years?
Well, he's got 20 more years than I got in. That's one thing it says. I think this is his 40th season as a head coach. He started a lot younger than I did. I should be able to last. He should be able to last longer, though. He didn't spend those 12 years with Judd, so I think he should be able to last a little longer than me. But, it's incredible what he's done. I mean, it's well documented, well written, and has earned everything he's done. It's amazing the consistency. I said that's the kind of program you want to have, is one that's consistent year in, year out for probably 30 years now. Because, his first 3 or 4, I hear were a little shaky. And then since then, he's just been a model of consistency. And I was knocking on the door, sometimes not getting in, but I was knocking on the right door. And I have great respect for that. And yet, we haven't done very well against Duke. I think it's one of the only teams, them in Carolina, we have not done a very good job. And for a variety of reasons, I think. But the bottom line is he's earned his years, he's earned his record, he's earned his, the good news is don't have to be sacrificial lamb like I did in the first one when he was going for his, was he tying or breaking, breaking the record when I think they had every guy that ever went to Duke was at that game. And he's got what has he got, 16, 17 games to get to the 1,000? 15? Not that I'm counting, but you are. As I said, I respect Mike a lot. I respect what he's done. We've had some great games with them, and they were able to win a lot more than we have so far.
Just to continue the love fest, do you remember the first time you met him and how he treated you?
I don't remember the first time I met him. I was an assistant. I think it was recruitment of Chris Webber. First time I met him, it was in the late '80s, and but he's always treated me great. But I think he treats most people great. Yep, back then in the day.
Tom, when you've recruited 2 kids as much as you recruited Okafor and Jones, does that give you any sort of extra scout on them in a game like this because you saw them in AAU stuff so much?
Well, I do know what they do. I got to give Jaleel a lot of credit. He's lost a lot of weight. I mean, he looks like a different player than the one that I recruited. I mean, he looks great. And I did recruit those guys a lot. I know what they do, but the film can tell you that too. And our players are going to know what they do. It's stopping what they do that'll be the challenge. And but yeah, you kind of know how they are. You know what their favorite moves are. I think I have a pretty good feel what both of them want to do. But as I said, stopping what they want to do is different than knowing what they want to do.
Got time for a few more here.
Tom, last year early against Kentucky, Brandon Dawson was effective defensively at the 4 against bigger guys. Is that something in this situation you can lean on a little bit?
Yeah, I think Brandon Dawson's got to be good defensively against a lot of guys. I think he's, he'll start out, on Jefferson, but we're going to have him guard maybe some perimeter guys depending on what happens. We're going to have him helping off people. He's going to have to be very, very active in this game. And yet I think he knows it. I think he's studied it. I think he understands it. Now he's got to do it. And if he does, that'll make a big difference for us.
So much focus on the 2 guys, Okafor and Jones. How good is Winslow? And I assume that's a lot of Denzel tomorrow night.
Well, Winslow is, I didn't consider him a very good shooter in high school. I didn't see him a lot, but just on the trail when I saw him. But it looks like he's improved his shooting some. And, if they shoot like they shot in these games, I think anybody's in trouble. But sometimes it's easier to make a 3 when you're up 55-14 and things like that. So they all shot the ball well so far. Matt Jones he shot 14% last year, and he's shooting the lights out of the ball. So Winslow is a slashing. He can shoot it, but it's getting him on the break, keeping him off the offensive boards, slashing, driving type of guy. he too, like you say, is a very, very, very good player and was ranked, also in that top 15 or 20. So got some strength, got some athletic ability. 6'6", he can do a lot of different things. So, they have 9 McDonald's All-Americans, and every one of them are deserving of being that. And so they got good players.
Is that the matchup? Or
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we switch some in that, so I never make as big a deal about the matchups, but that's who will start on them, yeah.
We got time for one more if there is.
How much do you like to play the motivational angle with guys? How much do you say to Brandon? Scouts see when you take a second half at Navy off, and they're going to see how you do against this. How much do you play that?
Well, I've played it some with him. I've played it some with other guys. Right now I'm just playing none of that with Brandon. I'm just telling Brandon, hey, listen, you worked your tail off last spring, summer, and fall. And working your tail off in practice and when nobody's watching and nobody's in the gym, there's no reason why you don't do that, when the game starts. I mean, there's a lot of guys over the years that are different in that way, but he had such a good off season. I really don't look at that game as, was he perfect? No, but none of us were in that game. But I don't look at that as the way he's been. 2 years ago, I would have said that. That's who he is. Right now, I wouldn't say that's who he is. And I really think he'll have as he has in some of these other games, he's played very well in them, and I think he will play well tomorrow. And in all honesty, if our 3 best players don't play well, we have no shot to win the game. But if their 3 best players don't win well, they still could win because they've got more numbers. But if you look at most teams in the country, your 2 and 3 best players have to play well, especially your upperclassmen. And so that's pretty common. And, I'm just looking forward to this challenge. I really am. I'm looking forward to seeing where my team is. I told you guys I didn't really have a good feel going into the Navy game where we were. I really don't have a good feel coming out of it because, you lose a guy 2.5 minutes into the game, and now you're going to play a guy that you weren't going to play as much just because of his hand at the time. And, everything kind of changed there within there. And consequently, we're playing a team military academy that never says die, and that's their whole motto. That's what they are. And they played hard, and they played pretty well. And they started doing what you tell your players happens. All of a sudden you're up 10 and they're banking in threes, things like that. And it happens. So was I pleased with it? No, I was really disappointed in it. Do I think there's a carryover? Not even close. That's not the way we've practiced and worked all spring, summer, and fall. Anything else? All right, guys, sorry, no round table because we're heading out today, but